name is Sidiki Fofana. I'm 23 years old, and I'm also a professional actor. Sidiki Fofana, let's see, he's humble, he's dedicated, he's determined. He's a people person. He's someone who takes your problems and make it his, even if he doesn't have to deal with it. He's someone who's driven, he's someone who's built with awareness. I feel like I represent a whole community, a whole group of people. Sidiki in Arabic means honest loyalty, and I feel like I resemble that, like I said, people always tell me my personality is very infectious. I have a history of people just liking me the minute I speak, or, I've had people say my presence is very big, even if I don't say anything. So I feel like Sidiki Fofana is a collection of people of all creed, color, and religion. I have friends who are Indian, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Chinese, Hispanic, Black. It doesn't matter. I am a reflection of them. I'm a reflection of my ancestors, those who couldn't get far in their lives, those who passed away, whether it was slavery or, being treated with abuse or whatever. I feel like I'm a reflection of them. And because of that, this is the way God created me. I like the who I am series. It's good when people get to see you personally instead of, especially when we live in New York City where people walk around with this mask on, especially in the entertainment business. But when you get to sit down and really get to know this person's history and their struggles they had during their life and how their struggles became blessings, you get to see them in a different light, and it can inspire you. So I want my story to inspire other people too. So I was originally born in West Africa in Guinea. I was born on July 28th. And it's an interesting story. My mom was on vacation from school and she went to stay with her uncles. And next door, living next to her uncle's house, was my dad. So they met during the summer, they connected. My mom didn't actually want to be with my dad, but my dad did all he can to be with my mom. So next thing you know, I was born. And my mom almost lost her life because when I was born, I was a huge baby, so I took so much blood from my mom. I mean, looking at me now, I'm this skinny dude. But it was really tough. I used to have so many seizures growing up. I would constantly faint, and health condition back home in Guinea isn't as strong as in most Western countries, especially in the U.S. I remember reading an article that said that there's no ambulances in Guinea today, and that's, a catastrophe. So, and later on, my father came to New York to try to find a better place for us to live. He came here, he started working, and things were cheaper here around that time. MTA was cheaper, taking the city bus was cheaper, taxi compared to how it is today. And, me and my mom came here around September of 1992, mostly so I could have, a better life and my health condition could be taken care of. We were trying to find out why I was getting seizures after seizures and why things were, putting me in these conditions. But, coming to America was one of the best choices. It's interesting. When I came to America, I was young, so it wasn't, I didn't look at it as, the home of the brave, land of the free. For me, it was just, I'm at another country. I really don't have much memory of my moments back home in Guinea. All I know is this place as my country. So when me and my mom came, we slept at the airport for a while because, things weren't, we didn't have a place to stay. My dad was trying to get things, situated and fixed. So, grew up here, went to school here, have some of the best friends here. And I've been blessed to have the opportunity to come here because there's so many people, not only in Africa but in other countries, who are doing their best to come here. You know, some have medical conditions, some have great education, you know, some are living in poverty, you know, and for me to have that chance to come here, it's already a blessing, you know. So, you know, growing up, you know, I had dreams of becoming, you know, the first black president. You know, I used to watch Hercules with Kevin Sorbo, Lucy Lawless, you know, Xena the Warrior Princess. You know, I used to grow up watching, you know, family-orientated shows like Family Matters, you know, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So I got to adjust to the culture here. You know, I went to school here, you know, learned math, English, science, you know, saw people of all different cultures and diversity. Elementary school was pretty interesting, you know. It's still funny to me how I learned English today because I don't remember how I learned it. You know, especially since at home all my parents speak is Maningo, Fula, or French. You know, we usually don't speak English like that unless we're joking around or imitating someone on television. You know, so I went to kindergarten in a school called PS46 down in Bainbridge. Um, and this school was amazing. I started kindergarten. My kindergarten teacher was named Miss Drucker. You know, I hope she's still alive today. But she was one of the best teachers I had. And the kids in my class were mostly Dominican, Vietnamese. You know, from Senegal. I was one of the two people from Guinea. You know, one of the girls I ended up dated was from Guinea. You know, we were the only two Guineans in the classroom. But school here was very, very great, you know, because I learned so much. I was always interested in books like Ninja Turtles and things I saw on television. But the only downfall growing up in school was my parents couldn't always afford most of the things that kids were able to get, like Nikes and Jordans. You know, I didn't get my first Nike sneakers until after 8th grade, you know, so I used to rock sneakers that were like $5 or, you know, shirts that were not real name brands, but, you know, as long as I had something to wear, that's what was most important to me. And Miss Drucker used to always teach us, you know, how we could strive, how we could become anything, how there's, no matter what obstacles in our way, you know, you could use them to be stepping stones or use them to, you know, create blessings in your life. So, you know, there was so much learning. And then I moved on to first grade, you know, went to second, third, fourth, fifth, you know, I mostly had a lot of female teachers, but they were probably some of the best teachers, you know, and they really invested into my dreams, my education. You know, growing up, you know, in elementary, I didn't really know what I wanted to become. You know, I felt like being of good service to other people or becoming something that either saves lives or contributes to someone's dream or invest into their goals or help them strive further was something I wanted to become. So I guess that's why I had a passion for being a politician or the first. Growing up in school, that's interesting, is that I wasn't really a good student. You know, I was always getting in trouble a lot. You know, I remember I got in trouble for stealing a Ninja Turtle book. You know, I look at it now, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? You know, I remember one thing I did in in elementary school that was really funny was I remember watching this Looney Tunes cartoon, and a guy put a needle on the chair, and one of the cartoon characters sat on it and they jumped. And I thought it was hilarious. So one day in school, I tried it, where I took a needle and someone sat on it. I don't want to mention their name, but I got in trouble for it. But I used to believe in cartoons and stuff like that. I used to like to make people laugh. So, but I never knew that some of these actions I were taking were very bad or were hurtful to other people. So, you know, I was lacking awareness at the time. I think that's the difference between me now and me back then, is that now that I have awareness and I see how the world, you know, operates and how, you know, there's so many struggles and there's so many challenges, I am more aware and I am more in tune and focused. compared to then growing up where I didn't have a role model because my father wasn't, you know, someone who I could always go to if I had certain problems or struggles. My mom didn't know much English at the time, but she was very supportive. She was the main reason I started school because she pushed me. Um, I remember she took me to the kindergarten to enroll into school, and she didn't know any English. But all she kept telling the staff people at the office was, I want my child to learn. So I thank my mom today for that. But I didn't really have that one role model where you could go up to them, or that mentor where you could talk to them and they would tell you, what's right from wrong, or what's the correct path, or what do you need to do to make your challenges a blessing. So that was something I lacked. My mom, she is probably, she is the most important thing that's ever happened to me in my life. When we first came to America, she barely knew any amount of English, and today she knows so much English. She communicates with people. Many of her friends are Hispanics, African, Haitian. She always jokes around telling me that she hates when people say how great I am, or how she was blessed to have a son like me. But my mom did support me since day one. Even my moments struggling as an actor, she's always supported me. And you hardly see that from African parents, especially moms and dads, because they're so into their child's becoming doctors and lawyers. But my mom, she's someone who thinks outside of things. She like I said earlier, she wants to leave this world seeing me very stable. She wants me to leave a legacy, a foundation. She wants to see the best for me. Being her first child, she oftentimes shares stories with me, how we slept in the airport when I was a baby, and she hardly knew any English when I was hospitalized to communicate with the doctors. But she's the reason why I'm still going forward. Everything I do, I dedicate it to my mom. No matter what I do, everything is for her. I just hope that one day I'm able to leave her the life where she no longer has to work. She could stay back, relax, communicate with her, mom, and, see her grandchildren and everything. But my mom is everything to me, and I will continue to keep fighting for her. I know time's been tough for her and me, but I know that, with God's guidance, things will always be better. And, I will do whatever I can for my mom. She's everything to me. Well, being a first child, one of the pressures that you have on you is that you're the one that has to pave the way. Especially if you end up having siblings later, they will look up to you for guidance. If I was still back home in Africa today, I think I would still have enormous amount of pressure. But I think the fact that I'm in America, a place where many of my family back home want to come to have a better opportunity and better freedom and, a better health system, it puts an enormous amount of pressure on me because I pretty much...
What's going on?
Yeah, I'm good. Let me drink water real quick. It's just...
What?
To be honest, you know what I'm thinking?
What?
I'm thinking, as being the first child, I failed tremendously.
Why? Why did you do that?
I'm not where I want to be today. I'm not where I want to be today, and just to see that many of my family members that I knew growing up have passed away, and they invested so much in me, Even having my grandfather pass away last year, and he said to me that he said to my mom one day in a phone conversation, he said, if this family ever get out of the struggle that we've been facing for so long, it's gonna end with this kid. He said, there's something about Sidiki where I really believe he will be the change that we've been looking for so long. And just to see, I mean, I've accomplished a lot, but just to see that I'm not where I want to be today, it really hurts, man.
What I'm saying, man, you about to turn what, 24?
Yeah, I'm turning 24 Sunday, but it's like I'm still not stable. I'm still not stable. It's looking back at it, it is. I mean, I don't want to say I'm a failure, but I wish I could have done more. Looking back at 2011, how I lost so many of my family members, so many. Like, I remember at 1 month, I lost about 6 to 10 family members. And everyone that I know always told my mom, yo, I believe in Sidiki, I believe in him. And I think that's what keeps me grounded. And, I mean, this amount of pressure I get being a first child, I like it in a way because it makes me stay consistent. It makes me, really take everything I do very seriously. But then it comes to a point where if things don't go right, things don't always go our way. So if it fails, I always think that I failed in many ways.
But are you really failing, man? That's what I'm talking about. Are you really failing right now for you telling that story? You know what I mean? That's the reason why we do this, man. Open thoughts. I tell people think, seeing in the background, they don't know this is therapy for people, man.
Yeah.
We in this house all the way out in the Bronx. And these are emotions coming back from you. People think this is an act, and people know. Just because I'm editing that and making it look like that, this is a healing process for people in here. You feel me?
Yeah.
So I said, that's natural, bro. That's not an act. That's you stopping in mid twice to say, man, it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I believe that right now, seeing you, bro, you are that light.
To be honest, losing so many of my family members, especially back into 2009, I believe, when many of my people back home in Guinea got massacred. And back in 2011, a lot of my family members passed away, either from natural death or from poverty. I sometimes wish I could do more for them, But I feel like I did the best I could, especially doing, theater gigs and projects where most of my money, either half or sometimes even all, will go back home to Africa to either help my grandparents or some of my aunts and uncles. I remember one point, I was talking with a friend, an actress, Erin Cherry. I texted her one night. I told her, my phone is going to get cut off, so, hit me up through email or social media and I'll respond to you. And she said, why is it going to get cut off? And I said, because, the amount of money I have left, I'd rather use it to send it back home to save one of my family members. So one night I won't wake up and get a phone call saying that someone passed away. That to me was more important than just, paying a cell phone bill. That's only gonna last a few months and then I gotta pay the bill again. So I mean, I've done a lot in my life today. I'm not where I want to be at today, but I'm also not at my lowest point where I feel mad that I didn't accomplish certain things. But
you're supposed to call me. What's the matter with you? Huh? You don't like me no more?
my father used to work at a bank in Guinea. I was named after his father, my grandfather, and his father was pretty much very rich because he used to own this bank. And when he passed away, he left it to my father. But growing up here in New York, especially the Bronx, me and my father had a good relationship growing up. Every day when I go to school, he would give me $1. He would kiss me on the cheek, and he used to do this thing that always, lightened me. He used to wink at me. He'll go, psh. It was something that those small things like that really built the relationship with me and my father. But the only problem I had with my father growing up is that when I wanted something so bad that some of the kids in my school had, whether it was nice sneakers, shoes, or toys and stuff like that, I would ask my father for it, but my father would always say, ask your mom. But yeah, my mom wasn't making as much as my father, so when I asked my mom and she says, ask your father, I kind of understood from her point of view because, things were really tough for her. But when my father would say things like that, it would really disappoint me. Another good thing I used to like about my father, when he came from work, we would always be happy because he would bring things like KFC, fast foods that me and my sister would enjoy. So that was another thing that I always loved about my father. But when it came to education, my father never really came to school to see how my grades were. If I got hospitalized, my father would not. If I was sick and I needed to be hospitalized or taken to the hospital, my father would not take me. He'll come to the hospital, visit me, but he will not take me to the hospital. So those two were a downfall between me and my father. But as I grew up older and older, me and my father, our relationship became very distant because I wanted to be a basketball player growing up. My father he loved watching basketball, but he didn't support me in becoming a basketball player. He wanted, me to do government jobs, city jobs, being a firefighter or a cop or, something that made me look, huge in the Guinean community, in the African community, where you could be like, oh, my son is a cop or my son is a lawyer. He believed in things like that, but I didn't have enough freedom to really pick what I wanted, what I felt was best for me career-wise. So that was another distance. And a huge thing between my father and I is that I used to get abused by him a lot. I used to get hit with his bare hand, whether it was the belt or whether it was like an iron cord. I had this cousin named Siaka that, he really liked me so much. He used to do things that were bad when he was in Ohio, but when it was me and him, he was really, supportive of me. My father didn't like me hanging out with him. My father used to judge him without really getting to know him. So if I went to the park with my cousin Siaka, and my father heard about it, he'll get really mad. So my father used to abuse me with things that really didn't make sense. Me and my father, our relationship today as it stands, when people, it hurts when I do a performance and people ask me, your mom and your dad must be really proud of you, or how's your dad doing, or, who's your dad? And I pretty much, I have to say, oh, he's doing all right. I have to say things to really not, further the conversation about my dad. But as it stands today, my dad and I don't talk. He's back home in Africa. He'll call sometime, some of his relatives, here in New York, but he will never ask about me, I remember at one point my father said that if I pass away, he really wouldn't care much because I'm no longer considered as his child. He has a child back home, I still haven't spoken to that child or anything. He has a wife back home, but I think the fact that me and my father wasn't really close is the main reason why when I first started acting, I used to hang around actors who were older. They gave me this guidance that I didn't have growing up, or this amount of respect, or this friendship, And until today, even if it's my friends or, my cousins or any male figure in my family or outside of my family, it's hard for me to tell them I love you because I didn't that word was very hard for me to say growing up around my father. You know, not often that I told him I love you. You know, so it's been really tough. You know, what hurts the most is that to see my little siblings, my little brother Umar and my little sister Rugiatu, that they're gonna grow up the rest of their life not having, you know, their real biological father in their life. I mean, even though I grew up with my father and I faced so many abuse, I feel like they're gonna get hurt the most because, you know, they didn't get to at least feel his presence being, you know, at home, you know. So, and that's another pressure because many of my siblings look up to me as their father figure too, not just as their brother. So, I mean, it's painful that I'm gonna grow up the rest of my life knowing that my father pretty much abandoned me, and everything I do forward, I won't have a dad that's fully behind me on what I do. I love to act because I love to reveal a human to humanity. You know, I think the life we all live, we're pretty much acting in it. You know, whether you're going to the store or you're hanging out with your friends or you hanging out in your neighborhood or you just got in a fight, everything is acting because you're living truthfully in the moment. You know, and I think one thing for me, I feel like in order to be a better humanitarian, acting will be a stepping stone to that because I get to play so many range of emotions, walk in other people's shoes, you know, see how I could be of good service to other people. And acting just makes me feel more alive, you know, and I get to see things from different angles. I get to be aware, you know, there's my level of awareness too. So I love it. I mean, it's art. I mean, you gotta love art. How acting came to my life, I was into filmmaking. I wanted to be like the next Spike Lee, but I wanted to only cast some named A-list actors, but mostly I wanted to cast actors from the indie community or actors who were, you know, just starting off, so I could, you know, be a huge blessing into their life, you know, because I feel like in Hollywood today, sometimes the same actors keep getting cast, or reality show, you know, people from reality show oftentimes gets rolled without even putting much effort or work into getting the roles. And I feel like there's so much talent in the indie community, so much actors who are rising today. You know, I get tired when I hear the media saying, you know, who's going to be the next Denzel or who's going to be the next Samuel Jackson, but yet you're not going out there and looking to see where they at. You know, we're constantly, you know, not looking for these talents. We're either, you know, writing roles that they can't fit, or, you know, giving them such a hard mountain to climb. But I wanted to be a filmmaker to give these actors a chance. But I took a college now class for filmmaking at Bronx Community College. But for some reason, when we had to do small student films in a classroom, I always had this urge of being in front of the camera. You know, I always wanted to act in it. You know, when some of my friends were doing their student films, I would be like, hey, I'll be an extra, or, you know, let me say a couple of lines. So I had this love for being in front of the camera instead of being behind the camera. So little by little, directing kind of slid away from me, and acting, you know, started emerging. So that summer film class at Bronx Community College, I took a class with Jeffrey Wysoski, who's been in the Directors Guild of America for a while, and he was bringing all these guest speakers. And one day he brought Sonia Martinez, and he brought Edwin Pagan, and I remember Edwin Pagan reached out to some of us in the class and said, hey, I'm working on this film shoot in a couple of days. You know, you guys could come out and watch and experience it. But when Edwin left as our guest speaker at the College Now class, I stood in contact with him through MySpace, because I was the type of person, if I felt like you will be a blessing in my life, I will do as much as I can to be around you, even if I gotta, do something to help you, or whether it's a non-paying job or be your intern, as long as I could be around you and be a sponge and absorb so much that you have. So Edwin put me around these people. I went to his set one day of a friend named Pepper Negron who was filming this horror film. And I got to see how they do horror films, the tricks behind it, how they cut the fingers, but really they don't. And how all these camera tricks came into play. So one day I reached out to Edwin. I said, I don't have a headshot. Do you know anybody who will be able to help me? And he reached out to Pepper Negron, and Pepper Negron said, I'll do your headshots for free because you worked on my film, as a PA, and I wasn't able to pay you. So Pepper gave me two of the best headshots I can ask for, because for years these headshots been getting me in the door, getting me representation, getting me cast a lot. So in my final year of high school, all I needed was one credit to graduate. So I got it. The school decided to give me an internship at a production company called Simba Productions, where I was interning and learning more about filming and acting and how people do their reel and everything. And long story short, I was interning at Simba Productions, and there was this guy by the name of Herman Chavez who would oftentimes come in to get his reel done. He was friends with one of the people working at Simba's production. And I told his friend one day who was working at Simba Production that I wanted to get into acting. I wanted to learn. And he was like, hey, Herman Chavez, he teaches acting. He's best friends with my brother and myself. So one day Herman Chavez came in again to get one of his reel completed. And I told him, hey, I'm a young person, I'm about to finish high school, I want to get into acting. And he said, I'll definitely help you. He took me to Ted Barty's studios where I saw actors from Law and Order and all these episodic shows, and they were showcasing their reel to people from agencies and stuff. And I said, wow, I want this feeling. I want to be engaged into something like that. So Herman Chavez took me in. I told him a little bit about my personal story, how I've been struggling, how my dad wasn't in my life. And he decided to coach me for a small price. He would coach me, he'll coach me for about 8 hours, and he'll charge me, just a small price. Or if I didn't have the money, he wouldn't tell me that he couldn't coach me, because little by little we were building a relationship. He liked it to be around me, I liked it to be around him. If I couldn't pay him, sometimes I'll tell him some networking events I know and he'll come. So I used to pay him like that. And I started acting. One day my teacher in school left this breakdown. It was for a film that was shooting called Don't Let Me Drown. It was a feature film that ended up going to Sundance. And I went to audition, and it was my first time auditioning. Everybody in the room had their headshot, resume, their reel, they're all ready with all their package and everything. And I'm sitting there with no headshot, no reel, no, resume, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. All these people are here. What's the chances of me getting this role? But my confidence was kind of huge because I didn't know anything, how it works. I just thought they'll see me, they'll like my personality, because most people say my personality is very infectious, that it really draws them into me. So I try to use my personality to get in the film. So this photographer goes around to people who didn't have their headshots, and he's taking, a picture of them to staple to their, resume and stuff. So he comes and does mine, and he goes, let me take your picture. He takes it, and, the picture comes out, and he staples it. And then I tell him, excuse me, sir, everybody here has a headshot, but where's mine? I'm thinking he was the one that took everyone's headshot, but everyone That's when I learned that people go to other photographers and get their headshots done. And the guy laughed. He was like, no, you go to somebody else to get that done. So I went to the audition room for Don't Let Me Drown. Again, my personality, they really loved it. I ended up getting the extra role, started learning about the films. And I remember telling my friends in high school, I was like, yo, I'm about to blow up, man. I just did, a role in a film called Don't Let Me Drown. It's gonna come out in theaters. But I didn't know how the extra thing was. I was way overboard thinking, I just did an extra, I'm gonna blow up now. But working with Herman Chavez, I started learning the mental business of auditioning, the business side of acting, and the do's and don'ts and what you're supposed to do. How you got to keep hustling, you got to be consistent. I remember Miles Maker telling me at Direct and Actors Gym that actors need to hustle like mixtape rappers because their hustle is 100%. Every day they wake up, they're trying to sell their CDs or trying to get a record label to know who they are. But they have that mentality that they got to be consistent, and I think that's what Miles Maker was talking about, that an actor needs to keep doing. But from there I started acting, doing student films at NYU, Columbia University, and little by little, I was like this sponge in the industry. Like I used to absorb so much, and one guy came into my life one day as a blessing from DV Republic. It's a networking event. Actors, producers, directors used to go to the network and build relationship. Most of my base on Facebook is from people I met there and other places too. But I met this young cat there one day. His name is Ephraim Benton. And he was older than me. He was a young guy, very cool. He was a people's person. And there was something about Ephraim that I liked it so much. When I first connected with him, I didn't know who he was, but he gave me his business card. Me, I like to research people so much. I went home, I researched him, and I found out that he was in movies like Baby Boy, Law and Order. He's done Precious. He's done Inside of a Change, directed by Rick Cordero. And I said to myself, wow, like I just shook this guy's hand, and he's done so much work in the industry, but yeah, he's very humble and cool and down to earth. And I said to myself, that's the type of person I want to be like. So for years, I looked at Ephraim as a role model. He's always been a role model for me. And he introduced me to this workshop called Diligent Actors Workshop, where actors used to go out to and work on their craft, and we would do a lot of improv, and Ephraim, little by little, he would call me his brother, and he would really believe in me. He always had faith in me in everything I do. So Ephraim always guided me throughout my career, and until today, I always give thanks to him, because if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'll be in my career. I'll probably be a few years behind. I started doing a lot of theater as I was evolving as an actor, because they always say the best actors are theater actors. Samuel Jackson, Denzel Washington, a lot of these big cats have done theaters growing up. So I did theater to build my confidence, because I felt like if I could perform and go full out in front of an audience, I could do that with just a camera and a few people just watching me. So as I started involving in theater, I started meeting great people that I started networking with writers. The first writer I ever worked with was Bathsheba Doran. She cast me in a play called Nowhere in America. And today she writes for, Boardwalk Empire and Smash, so she's like out there. But it was writers like that really challenged me to go further in my career and to really get to that point, as an actor where I can go all out. But as I started doing many of these theater projects, where I will have audiences about 50 to 100, sometimes 200, my confidence started building, and I felt like the more my confidence was building, the further I was going, because I feel like confidence is what separates most actors from others, So I started doing a lot of theater, especially in most of the theaters I've done are either comedy or very dramatic. I did, I won my first award from theater, the Docal Award, um, which was amazing. I didn't see that coming, but it really built me. And not only did it build me as an actor, but it built me as a human being to, you know, give speeches in classrooms, or, you know, work as a teaching artist with some schools and some students. So it really built my confidence, and because, you know, growing up with my father, as I said, he was very abusive. I always felt being around him, I was in a shell. You know, I couldn't express, you know, what I wanted to. I couldn't say certain things around him. You know, I always felt like I was, you know, really cramped up. But theater really brought a lot out of me, and I think, how I was saying before, my personality to most people is considered very infectious. People like my personality. Um, it kind of built me more, and it built my level of awareness. And you know, I started seeing how the game works. You know, the mental side of the game. You go in, you do your monologue. You know, you got people standing there watching you. And I felt like the more I started learning, the more I started improving as a human being and as an actor. So I've done so many plays until today, you know, from the Billie Holiday Theater to the Castillo Theater to the Paul Robeson Theater to Metropolitan Playhouse, and it just goes on. So one of the best plays I did was Legend of Bustin' Hill at the Billie Holiday Theater, and it was directed by Jackie Alexander. He also wrote it too, and I'm so glad he cast me, because this play really showed people the level where I was at as an actor. You know, I had producers every night writing to me, or actors, or people who saw the show, giving me respect for my performances. And they felt that I was very truthful with delivering my character too. And this play was awesome too, because it went down to the National Black Theater Festival in North Carolina in 2011. And it was amazing, because it's always good to go to another state and, you know, perform in front of a different atmosphere, you know, a different group of people. And majority of people there were African American. And it was pretty much amazing. You know, they paid for a plane ride, they paid for our hotels. And most people were very fascinated at the fact that a kid from the Bronx was down there performing. You know, not saying nothing bad about the Bronx, but not often that they see, you know, especially the elders, not often do they see actors from places like the Bronx, or, you know, Queens, or Brooklyn, goes to a place like that and perform, you know, especially at a young age. So that was very humbling. You know, I had people down there telling me to keep going, keep pushing. One cool part was, I remember promoting our play there one night, and where I was promoting the play was in this building where Felicia Rashad was performing. And I was so hyped. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in North Carolina. Felicia Rashad is here performing. Takea Crystal Kamer from That's So Raven, the mother from That's So Raven, is down here as a judge. She came to our show and she loved it. She started tweeting about it, started telling me how great I did, how my cast did great too. So it was an experience that I was so blessed to have. And I will oftentimes in my hotel think about how I was this kid from the Bronx, you know, that came from Africa. And his family is struggling, they're tired, you know, they're not stable, and I'm down here in North Carolina representing them. And that showed me that acting was my true passion, it was my calling, and I kept going. I think one of the biggest accomplishments as an actor is the people I met along the journey, you know. I've had mentors like Ephraim Benton, Eric McKay, you know, Mel Jackson, you know, Dion, and, you know, everyone from my actor circle, Anne Marie, so many people. I mean, Aaron Cherry, Clinton Lowe, you know, there's so many people I could name, and I think that was one of the biggest blessings that happened to me as an artist, you know, to be able to really see and find people who are as dedicated as me, you know, from actors, directors, producers, writers. And not often do you get to have a career where you could jump from one project to the next and meet all these different people, different creed, different culture, different religion, and they accept you for who you are, and you guys come together as an ensemble to, tell this story. So that's been a wonderful goal and achievement as an actor. Another one, well, I have to throw this in. It has to be when I found out that I won the Adolfo Rising Star Award. I actually didn't think it would happen, but I found out after doing this play called Children of Killers, written by. I remember when the night of the Adolfo, when things were wrapping up, I did an interview with Grace Jones, and Grace Jones explained why she chose me to be the next Adolfo Rising Star Award of 2012. It was Adolfo's 40th anniversary, and she said, I remember her telling me when I was watching Sidiki perform on stage, I could not take my eyes off him. She said, not often do I go to a play and say he's my favorite actor, she's my favorite actor, but she said she couldn't fight that urge when she was seeing me perform. She was like, I cannot stop watching him. And I guess she went home that night, and it was history that I was going to be named the next Adolfo Rising Star. And I remember her telling me, she said, I made a promise to her. She told me, she said, one day my time, my transformation to the next world will occur. And I really believe that you will go on to win Oscars and Screen Actors Guild and, Tony Awards. And she said, I really believe that in you. And I was touched by it, and I told her that, hopefully I do get it. And if I do, it'll be, dedicated to her. But I also mentioned that I haven't been an actor who's really interested in winning awards and stuff. If they come, they come. If not, I still feel my career is successful. But having Grace Jones tell me that was very. The Adolfo Award was amazing. I mean, the speech I gave that night, people were talking about how amazing it was because I dedicated the whole speech to my ancestors and the people who were massacred in Guinea in 2009, and the people that I'm fighting for. I went because it was my first time being in front of a large audience like that. People who were directors, producers, writers. Whitney Houston's mother was in the building. So it was like the world was my stage. So I wanted my speech to let people know that I'm not just doing this acting for the money or for fun, but there's a deep message behind it. That I want my legacy to pave the way for so many people, whether it's the people who live in America, Brazil, China, what it don't matter what country, or the people who live, back home in Guinea. To be honest, where I want to see myself 5 to 10 years today, in all honesty, I want to be in the mainstream media as an artist. Artists who people can look back on and say, wow, because of the fact that he didn't give up. There's no way I'm gonna give up. Thanks for paving the way for me. Thanks for being that light, that beacon of hope. At times when my hopes were dismissed, I looked upon your story, and it gave me the guidance I need, or it gave me a second chance. But I want to be this actor, who uses his powers. And when I say power, I mean like the exposure he has and the base he has and the people that respect him to really better my community. Really give back to my community. Give someone a chance to get to where I'm at. I don't feel like I'm the only Sidiki. I will be the first and last Sidiki. I think there will be many more. But just with different names or a different culture, different religion. But I want to be, I want to be stable. I want to, give my mom a perfect house, a perfect place to live. I don't want to have to worry about, the past struggles I've had. I don't want to relive any of those anymore. I want my siblings to go to the best schools, become the best basketball players or best lawyer, cheerleader, whatever they want to become. But I want to paved the way for them. But I want to see myself, on Broadway. I want to see myself, doing major Hollywood films, But I want to live a simple life, though. As long as I can be well known in the mainstream but live a simple life, I think that is very important to me. To the people out there, especially those who get to hear about my story, there's a quote that a mentor of mine shared, Mel Jackson. He said, "The world mirrors your level of awareness, but do you see it?" He also has this other quote that goes, "Life is a problem if you're not up for a challenge of a lifetime." So what I'm pretty much saying is that we don't have problems in our life. We don't. We have challenges. When we say we have problems, that sometimes in a way we're saying that it can't be overcome. But when we say we have challenges, we know it can't be overcome. We just got to put in the work. We just got to, I think challenges also builds our faith too. We get to get closer to God, and we get to understand other people's story, other people's struggles. So I want people who see my story to really know that there's still hope. Even if your hope is dismissed, there's still a chance. Out of many, we are one. As long as we're breathing, there is still hope. And as long as you're, still alive, there will always be an opportunity. Barasewa men kola. Barasewa mal baranatora yayen kayen ko na acting na local na family call be tere jusu dimidi. Banafe albe yalong ko toreani jusu kasi diwa. Nafe aliyalong aladi keye alne aladi di alma deme alai la Lord Jesus ibara mi fe adi keye kai supporte itoria mi fosla along ko mortise akela ikana ila dreams achieve mortise wala lola ito wala ala di sila la filima torea di naima ba ito wala ani iko kelen long one tanada. At the end of what I just said, I said one tanada. It means we are all we got. I pretty much said that God will throw so many challenges at you, but there will be roads that will come with those challenges. But if you take the right path, make the right choices, He will open those doors. And if the doors is closed, He will open those windows. I don't care if you call God Allah, Lord, Jesus, or whatever. We're all one, and I want you to know that my story, I'm very happy that I told it. And I want you to know that, it wasn't very easy for me. Once I hit that stage, or that set, I'm reliving this character. You're only seeing me for that and what I'm posting on, social media. But there's so much to what I've been through. But my challenges have helped me become a better person. And I hope years from now, I'm stable. I live the legacy my grandfather wanted, and just know you're not by yourself. I'm with you.
Thanks, Sidiki.
Thank
you, Say, man. Thanks for being on this, man. And big man that you got to tell your story.
Thank you.